words. Endless words. Nothing in this world will satisfy. No, no one. 'Cause Jesus, you're the cup that won't run dry. Oh, Jesus, your presence is heaven to me. Yeah. Jesus, your presence is heaven to me. Treasure of my heart and of my soul. In you, in my weakness, you are merciful. Thank you, Jesus. Redeemer of my past and present wrong. Holder of my future days to come. Jesus, your presence is heaven to me. Jesus, your presence is heaven to me. Hallelujah. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Worship you. Your presence is heaven to me. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. We bless you. Your presence is heaven, Jesus. Your presence is heaven to me. Yeah. Jesus, your presence is heaven to me. What's going up to you? All my days on earth are will away. I'll wait till I die. The moment that I see you face to face. 'Cause nothing in this world will satisfy me. 'Cause Jesus, you're the cup that won't run dry. Jesus, your presence is heaven to me. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, your presence is heaven to me. The treasure of my heart and of my soul, of my soul. In my weakness, you are merciful. Thank you, Lord. Redeemer of my past and present wrongs. Holder of my future days to come. Yeshua, your presence is heaven to me. Yeah. Jesus, your presence is heaven to me. What's going up to you? Jesus, your presence is heaven to me. Yeah. Jesus, your presence is heaven to me. Oh, your presence, Jesus. Your presence, Jesus. Oh, your presence. We need more of your presence in this time. Holy Spirit, your presence, Jesus. Holy, your presence. Holy Spirit. Oh, holy.
Bono. I mean, I say, yeah, cassava peas, Joseph, Marvelous, Samaka, Cockburn, Maxfield, Waterhouse, Bono, Tower. Remember me, they tell you about bad mind friend.
All right, good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I am here. I'm seeing people asking, where is Google? I ain't coming to work today or what? Well, I was on work in the sense that I was doing the live broadcasts on behalf of the company, so I was on work, just wasn't in the building, but I was doing work. All right. So good afternoon again, Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you all. You remember you can join me on Facebook and on YouTube. All right. Let me say good afternoon to all the people on YouTube. Where are you guys? Where are you guys on YouTube? Let me see if you guys are here. All right. So join me on YouTube. And yes, the boss, well, Daddy is in the building. All right. Daddy is in the building. And Daddy is in the building today. So I am not really going to take up much time, you know. All right, I'm going to hand you over to him in a short bit. All right, I'm going to hand you over to Daddy in a short bit. And he is going to take you until, well, 1:45. And he'll stay with me until 2. All right? He will stay with me until 2 o'clock. And he is here, walking right in as I'm talking about him.
Good afternoon.
Wait. You wait. You supposed to get some buffet. Hey, wow. What's going on, young boy? You cut off the... You cut off the...
Yeah?
Why?
Yeah, sometimes it's just
What's going on with you?
to maintain that is time and thing.
I know that. Sometimes I don't understand, you know.
You don't have to understand everything.
So what's going on?
I do. Doing the will of Jah.
Doing the will of Jah? Yes, yeah. Where's anybody there, right?
No, man.
I'm watching you, you know, you're blinging out and thing.
Yeah, that small thing, man. I had them thing. I go and buy nothing now. I had this over 20 years. I had a good birthday. My daughters, them treat me nice.
Show off now?
Yeah.
Well, I do treat you nice this afternoon. I taking you out this afternoon.
Yeah.
Can I do that this afternoon?
Can you what?
Take you out this afternoon as your son. I don't want to. I don't want to hear no excuse. Don't tell me I had nothing to do.
Nah. I have a real excuse. And real good ones. I tell them, I say I had to come here today because I missed too many weeks. Bam! I forget my checkbook. I say I'm not playing that with the boss. Ginny Bashment had to get you money. I call, I say I want my checkbook. I settle my score downstairs.
Right.
I say I'll go for half hour today. And then I'll talk with you and negotiate for like an hour. But the traffic, I don't know if you're hearing about this traffic problem coming out of the east.
Yeah.
Real police.
Yeah.
I don't know why police stopping people on the highway now in this hot sun. So it's a real problem coming. So for me to reach here, for one, I had to leave home about 10. After 10, soccer come. No, soccer come and do my hour.
Oh gosh. So what's going on?
Hey, doing everything, trying to address all the problems. What seems to be the most outstanding issue?
Right now?
Because for the past 2 times I was here, I touch religion yet.
No. And you know, people still liking the
law.
The law, the aspect of the law.
They're liking it.
Yeah, people, I think that's one of the main reasons listeners are complaining.
I was thinking, if I switch to religion, people will be like, oh God, we don't know where you stand already. He radically dread. He ain't like nobody. He ain't gay friend. So I feel what I go do, I go just touch religion. So, I want to deal today with I want to touch not rent, you know.
Where on the
I want to touch it marriage and divorce law.
Okay.
In Trinidad.
But you know the aspect of the rent and the land issue and all those things people
she
are.
was telling about it.
Yeah, a lot of people are gravitated
They don't have a rent act.
No.
They don't have a rent. You know what's the reason for that?
No, tell me now.
The rich people who own the land and
we all know you can talk.
No, the rich people who own the buildings and stuff.
Okay.
And Parliament playing the fool with that because landlords don't want to be accountable before the courts.
Okay.
So we don't have a real functional rent act in Trinidad. So tenants are at the mercy of their landlords. So it is now between every tenant and his landlord.
Right.
Yeah, to negotiate.
So how could we
You're not
address
coming
that?
on.
You on?
On? Already?
Lie, you talking to the nation.
Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago.
So you think
Yes, you Well, that is a good one. That is a good one. I want like boil corn.
Yes.
Yeah, what? Tell your friends, call your neighbors. Tell them Pastor Mackenzie is on.
But what in jail is this?
Yeah, I struggle through traffic to come into Port of Spain to talk to my people.
So who you think you was talking to?
And I hope you guys really appreciate the effort and the sacrifice. It's a labor of love for me. It's lover there. You understand? And I find, personally, between me and you, that my people need more professionals like myself who will come and address issues, that is affecting them. I can address issues because that's my area of expertise and competence. Anything that has to do with religion, anything that has to do with law. I'm an ordained minister. I'm a licensed marriage officer for the past 25 years. I've baptized tens of thousands of people, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, in Jesus' name, throughout the Caribbean, throughout Trinidad and Tobago, North America, all over. And I'm an attorney at law. I have shared chambers with Senator the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines. He's now the Minister of National Security, Juris Ecclesia Attorneys at Law. I'm presently share chambers with my good friend, Ms. Deborah James, extremely competent attorney, trust me. That's my teacher, trust me. And, I believe that people just need more information. And remember, this program we do here on a bi-weekly basis is not to act as a substitute for retaining an attorney at law. You would still need to retain an attorney at law if you want to draft a will, if you want to draft a rental agreement, if you want to do a contract. Contact an attorney, a competent attorney, pay your fees, your consultation fees. A consultation fee, you're actually paying your attorney for his time. An attorney's time is his stock in trade. Some people come and they bring a bundle of documents and they ask you to read it. But you are not paying your lawyer for the use of his eyes to read those documents. And some people bring boxes and boatloads and truckloads of documents and ask you to read it, So when you are charged a consultation fee, that's for your attorney's time. You are paying him for his advice to guide you as to how to conduct your affairs. And after that, you will have to pay your fees to go to court, your fees for your attorney to draft your documents, to file your documents, disbursements, trial fees, appearance fees, refresher fees. That's just how it goes, All right, so this program is not a substitute for you to retain an attorney. I told a good friend just last night, I said, when I come on this very, very wonderful program, that my son is conducting here, one day I'll give you the background of how he became my son and how I became his father. You will love it. I need a whole hour for that. I said sometimes I like to move with the Spirit. And I moved with the Spirit today. And I had no idea that I would be coming here to talk about issues relating to rent.
Wow.
And I met downstairs with my friend, and, after I settled my bills with the boss, I came upstairs, and then my host is telling me, he said, rent. And it's just rent. I mean, I didn't really prepare for it, but I think I have a good enough memory, to advise on issues relating to rent. Now, I would ask you to put some questions to me.
Okay.
And before we open up the lines,
Yeah.
right? But I would begin with Trinidad and Tobago, as far as I am aware. If I am wrong, I'm asking an attorney to call me and correct me. But as far as I am aware, we have no functional rental act on which to base any claims in law against a landlord in Trinidad and Tobago. The Rent Act, I mean, even way back when I was in law school, that was just up in the air. It was an issue in Parliament. They were having problems getting it passed, getting it amended. And one of the reasons articulated in the media for that was the people who own buildings and the people who own properties in Trinidad and Tobago are millionaires. And let me tell you something, Trinidad and Tobago. This country every 5 years, is run by 50 millionaires. For the most part, 50 millionaires run this country every 5 years. 50 people can make you very miserable or very happy. All right? In this country. 50. You check the composition of parliament. All right? For the most part, they are very rich. They are very wealthy. They have a lot of properties. And one of the things we discussed, I remember in law school, one of the things we discussed in law school concerning this rental act was that some of the people who stand to lose from being sued by their tenants might be sitting in parliament. Notice the words I'm using. I'm using words to avoid lawsuits. Might. You use your common sense and you'll know that might may not be the best word to describe what I'm trying to say. But if I'm sitting in parliament, I wouldn't want to pass an act that gives power to my tenant to come and sue me if I feel, well, because of COVID, I want to raise the rent. And that to me is a problem. I believe there are a lot of conflict of interest issues, all right, that's causing poor people and people who are renting month by month or on a bi-yearly basis or on an annual basis or on a biannual basis. I think they are being seriously disadvantaged. And landlords are very quick in this country to call a bailiff and they put your things out. I remember our good friend, Mr. Fabian. I mean, there's nothing to hide with his issue because he was public with it. I mean, he had a studio and the guys came and they put his stuff out. I mean, that was so embarrassing, man. Tears filled my eyes. Errol Fabian and Nigel Fabian, man, the Fabian brothers. Errol Fabian made me laugh until I cried. In this country, the man is a competent comedian. He's a national icon, a national treasure. And he was subject to that kind of embarrassment. Put out the man property, put it out, and cameras came and he's there and he's barebacked. And I will never forget that scenario. But luckily in Trinidad and Tobago, we have good Samaritans. And people pulled together and was able to foot that bill so that he was able to have get his place back. So let me deal with some issues now. One, when you enter into a rental contract, all right, that contract is as between landlord and tenant. In what is called a basic contract, the landlord assumes responsibility for certain things. One of the things, and I'm just using my memory, I don't have any book in front of me because I didn't plan to deal with this topic. But I know for sure, in most basic rental contracts, landlords are responsible for plumbing. Plumbing. Now, there are some landlords who might say to you, well, that shower head you have is an electrical shower head. There are wires running to that shower head. And if that shower head is giving you problems, you need an electrician. Well, I don't think that is good and proper reasoning. If you are responsible for plumbing, you are responsible for all plumbing. So where there's a leak, or a pipe isn't working, or the rubber has become worn on a shower head or on a pipe head, you have a right to call the landlord, because on any basic rental contract, the landlord assumes responsibility for plumbing. I'm sorry, I don't have a basic rental contract in front of me right now, so I can identify some of the basic things that landlords assume responsibility for. But remember, without a functional rental act, it is basically up in the air, and it's between you and your landlord, and you are at the mercy of your landlord. Let me show you how serious this is. With the advent of COVID in the United States of America, Joe Biden's government and Donald Trump's government decided that we going to foot the bill and we going to pay landlords for rents owed by tenants who were displaced or who lost their jobs because of COVID-19, and the American government stepped in. But now that the economy is, regaining momentum and regaining its strength, there was calls for a moratorium on government intervention. But now we have the Delta variant, and now the Joe Biden government, they are intervening again, and they are basically paying the rent for, listen to this, 175 million Americans. Now, America is richer. It's a rich country. And if you can handle the rent for 175 million Americans, now that's a lot of money. That money goes up into the trillions, 1 point something trillion, I think it goes up into. Here, our government attempted to intervene and said to our tenants who were displaced and who lost their jobs and couldn't pay their rent and were facing eviction, here what? Fill out a form, let us know that you are a tenant, identify the landlord, we need name, we need address, we need identification, so and so. And the government will intervene and help with, I think it is 3 months rent?
Yeah.
3 months rent. What happened in Trinidad is what happened in the United States. About 60% of all applications were fraudulent. Are you listening to me? You had people pretending to be landlords, faking land ownership, faking ownership of properties, all right, and houses and stuff. You had tenants in collusion with landlords to say, okay, make out receipts for $6,000 when the rent was $2,500. Are you listening to me? Right here in Trinidad and Tobago. The government saw mass corruption. It was mass hysteria and total mayhem. And I remember I received a letter from Minister Robinson. Camille Robinson Reggie. She wrote me a letter. And she explained to me, because I signed off for a lot of tenants. A lot of my members were tenants, and I signed off for them. And she wrote me and she said, here what? There's a lot of corruption going on. People are abusing the system. We have abusive landlords, abusive tenants. We have tenants who are in collusion with landlords, and they are basically ripping off the government. So we have slowed things down in an effort to eliminate the high level of corruption of people taking advantage of the system. Which brings me to another point. When I had hair, I was taking a haircut, my friend, in the barber shop. And a discussion came up in the barber shop as what the barbers were saying, what they would do if they got into government. And I was very disappointed with what I heard. All the barbers in the barber shop were saying, if they get into government and they have access to the kind of money government ministers have, they won't hesitate to rip off the country. Well, listen, the guy who was cutting my hair, he had to stop, because I shut down everything. I say, I can't believe that is what you guys are saying. It shows that corruption is so endemic in this society that we have reached a point where we are willing to say, if I had the opportunity, I would have ripped off my own countrymen. I say that is not good. That is not acceptable. And that is exactly what happened when the government intervened and tried to assist people with their rent payments. Now we have a situation where a lot of people are facing eviction, and landlords are coming, they are they are calling them bailiffs, but they aren't really bailiffs. It just might be a little local badger or a little hoodlum in the area, and they are coming and they are putting out your things, and people are asking what recourse do they have. Well, you can always go to the court and say, well, I rented in this place. I paid my rent faithfully for 3 years or 4 years. COVID came, I lost my job. You know, the government said they would intervene. They have not intervened as yet. My landlord gave me an ultimatum and said, if I don't pay up in so and so time, I don't have the money. My rent is $3,500 a month. All right? In 3 months' time, that accounts for $10,500. I do not have this $10,500 to pay my landlord, and he has threatened to put me out. And yes, he came and he put me out. I came and I met all my things at the side of the house. What recourse do I have? The answer to that question is, well, the recourse as it relates to the promises made by the government to pay your landlord for the rents owed. It's a technical and a tricky one, and what Joe Biden did. Listen to what I'm saying now. Notice I haven't answered the recourse and law question yet. What Joe Biden did, he told the landlords, do not put out anybody. No. Do not put out anybody. You're going to have to answer to the American government. Let your tenants enjoy tenure until we figure out and sort out these corruption issues that's being fueled by some of you guys. And I said that from the beginning. It's one of the things I think I can recall I mentioned to Minister Robinson Regis to include, let the government say to the landlords, you can't put out your tenant, especially if you have a history with that tenant where he or she has been faithfully paying their rent over the years. The COVID came, they lost their job, they have a legitimate case. And now they have a backlog of $10,500 at a monthly rental of $3,500 a month. You can't put them out. Let us sort out our issues. Let them continue paying from the third month and continuing if they have gotten their jobs back and all of that. But until then, let them owe you that money and let us sort out this tenant's issues, but you can't put them out. I am saying that is the stand the government has to take, because if you are telling these tenants to take their landlords to court, they have to find money that they need to feed their children, that they need to buy, to buy their computers and laptops and go online and all of that they need to pay their rent and handle other bills. You are asking them to take that money and go and pay a lawyer $1,500 or $3,000, all right, to go to petty civil court, because petty civil court will only deal with matters that is $50,000 and under. All right, it used to be 15, now it's 50,000. And when you go to court, it's refresher fees, you have to go back to court, and then you have some arrogant landlords who will just come and put your things out in the rain, and you can end with a crisis of homelessness, which 175 million Americans are facing right now. So I think the questions that's been coming to me and the queries that are coming has to deal with that. What do we do in a situation where, as we are facing now, I've lost my job, my landlord is threatening me, I owe him 3 months rent or 4 months rent, May, June, July, right? 3 months rent, all right? And I can't get that bulk of money and he's threatening to put me out. I am saying, if you can find the money, you can retain the services of an attorney. If you don't have the money, you can go to legal aid and say, here, I do not have the money, but I need a remedy in the law or whatever. And I am suggesting to any government minister, whether it's Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis, whether it's the Prime Minister, whoever is listening, all right, we know what's the situation with the Rent Act in this country. Let there be government intervention and say, hey, Mr. Landlord, you cannot put out this person. It's unfair, it's unjust, it's wrong, all right? And especially in the cases where your tenant has been a good tenant and they've been paying rent, you can't put them out. We accept responsibility on an interim basis. Let us sort out our issues. That is what I'm suggesting.
Somebody's saying that America can do that because they print their own money.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, that's Annette.
Yes, what does she say there? Good afternoon, Pastor Mackenzie. Pastor Google and Pastor Mackenzie. Gasparilla in the house.
We do not make money here, Pastor Mackenzie. America makes their own money and can afford to do that. Please do not put my government under that pressure. We cannot afford that. Listen, I don't think, personally, I don't think it's a matter of putting the government under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a matter of, I got a lot of responses from members of my church who said their landlords were very understanding, you know.
Yeah.
Let me speak to those landlords,
Mm-hmm.
And let me do song as though every landlord is a monster. A lot of my members came to me and they said, Pastor, I went to the landlord and he said, hey, don't bother, I will wait. All right? As long as it is done and you get back your job, you continue to pay. And in time, you will deal with the 3 months or the 4 months that you owed me. Let me put it out there that there are landlords who are reasonable, they are fair, and they are just, and they understood. And Dr. Rowley asked for landlords to be understanding, and a lot of landlords showed themselves to be understanding. Apart from the understanding landlords, the ones who don't have understanding and who are being irrational and arrogant and ignorant, I think that I am not putting my government under pressure to say to these landlords, hold your hand and don't put out the tenants. We're not demanding money from the government. We are just saying intervene and prevent mass evictions.
Somebody is saying, good afternoon, Pastor Google. You see how important the property tax is? Because people were saying that there were some landlords who did not want any of their tenants to apply for the grant assistance because they believe that they'll be on a file where the government can say, oh, you have 500-600.
You have no idea how important that point is you're making.
And that's what everybody puts it said. That's why
you have no understanding how important that point is. A lot of landlords were terrified of their names entering into the system. And a lot of them, the apartments they're renting out were illegal structures.
Right.
Were never tongue and country. And I am saying to the tenants out there who may be aware that Mr. Landlord A or Mr. Landlord B is not straight. Anytime you see them hemming and hawing and say, no, I don't want my name on that, I don't want my name on that, something is wrong with their legality of ownership of the property, and maybe that is something you need to say to them. Here, what? I will let the authorities look into that. Maybe our tenants need some leverage against landlords who've been collecting rent illegally.
But there are some people who would say too that you rent, as you said, you're renting from your landlord faithful. You're paying your rent.
You're paying your rent, yeah.
And you land in this situation that was not planned. It's not something that it's something worldwide. It's something, but your landlord decide he want to put you out. There's no redress you can get at all. After showing, hey, look, I've been paying this man for 3 years. 3 years I've been paying this man, and
I never faulted on
never
my
fault.
Right.
I've all no receipts.
Yeah, I'm not a delinquent.
Right. I'm paying the light bill and whatever other bills I have to pay.
Right.
And now I've meet myself in this situation, and you say that there's nothing the court can do?
Well, as I said, it is up to any tenant to say, here what, I'm going to seek redress, I'm going to seek a remedy in the courts. The government made certain representations, and I have relied on these representations to my own detriment, and the government hasn't come forward with my 3 months rent which I owed. You know, and so I'm going to go to the court and make a case and say that my landlord does not have the right in law to evict me. You know, I'm going to argue my case, but you got to pay a lawyer. You're going to have to pay a lawyer to do that. You know, that is the whole issue. And if you have money to pay a lawyer,
Then you can pay the man your rent.
Well, that is what the man will say when he come to court and he realize you hire some high-flying attorney who call in 15 grand for one appearance and you owing him 10.5. So you will say you pay the lawyer 15 grand, you can't pay me my 10.5. So that is the dilemma there. But yes, we always have redress in the courts.
Someone is saying this is happening especially in Central.
Especially in Central.
Yeah, this is not happening because from what one of the messages that went up before, someone is saying you're not seeing it on the East-West corridor in a mass where people living on the streets. Like what was happening in America. It had videos of people living on the streets in America because of the...
From the time the word Central comes into the argument, it brings up race.
That is it.
It brings up race where you have landlords largely of East Indian descent.
That is what they say.
With tenants mostly of African descent.
Right.
And the
or Spanish descent.
Or Spanish descent. And the landlords who are largely of East Indian descent are putting out and evicting tenants of African or Spanish descent. And is it that they are saying that there's mass homelessness?
I'm not seeing it. I don't know if you see it.
I don't think that is the issue. I don't know of any mass homelessness that's going on in Trinidad and Tobago.
What about
because
mass poverty? Let's throw in that in
poverty.
Yeah, mass poverty.
Well, let's say poverty on the as far as the United Nations is concerned. If you are displaced from your job for like 3 months, you can't pay your rent, you can't pay your bills. They have certain time frames before they say you are in a state
of
poverty. You can't just say I lost my job yesterday, so I'm poor. I lost my job on Monday and I'm poor on Tuesday. You must have some savings or some type of recourse, right? But I know.
Yeah.
For a surety in Trinidad and Tobago, there are people, there are people who are facing poverty. They can't meet their monthly and their daily expenses, and they need help and financial rehabilitation until they are able to do such. So I think as well, the person is saying, but America prints money and do not put that pressure on her government. I think the government every government needs to know that their most valuable resource is their human resources. It's the people. Someone told me recently that they asked me if I took the vaccine. I said yes. They said, well, my pastor said don't take the vaccine.
We can't talk that yet.
No, well, I'm finishing.
No, we can't talk. No, we can't talk.
Why? I'm going in a good way.
No, we will get flagged. Once you say it, then that's flag we. Once you say it, we will get in trouble. We can't talk that yet.
We can't talk vaccine.
Nothing. Not even the word. Not even the word. They don't even say the word.
Don't say vaccine.
Yeah, look, you say it.
But you making a scene. I can say that?
You can say that. But you can't say that.
Hey.
Let me see if you have a call a hole in. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Pastor Google. Good afternoon, Pastor.
Good afternoon.
Again, with the greetings to you with the whole month, I think.
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes, don't we have a rent assessment board?
No.
We don't have a rent assessment board in
Trinidad? And here I could jump out and say no so fast because every time I come on this radio station and talk about rent assessment board, I went to look it up. I went all over to find them and they don't exist anymore.
It's not there anymore?
No, they don't exist anymore.
Well, according to what the pastor said, he's correct in stating that although the Landlord and Tenants Act was passed by Parliament, it has not been proclaimed, but there is some provisions. The rent restriction reactment of 2002 that was amended from the Rent and Restriction Dwelling Houses Act of 1981. So there is legislation. It was passed in Parliament, so it has to be proclaimed. So what do we do to make sure that this is passed? How do we as ordinary citizens get them seen that this was passed in Parliament? How do we...
So here what we could do, here what I suggest we do. Find out the minister or the ministry that falls under and get that minister or ministry or whoever representative on the air to find out when or why it is not proclaimed.
Yeah, but if that minister or ministry is hemming and hawing, I think what the caller is saying, how do we get them to act? In Trinidad, we are very passive here, you know.
Yeah, very.
In another country, they know how to get them to act, you know. They come out, they protest, there may be a little fighting and bloodshed in the streets, but they get them to do that. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying sometimes we can be very laid back here, and we allow ourselves to be bullied.
Yeah. And just one more thing before I leave. When a lawyer would have done or not done the job, and based on their inaction, would have caused that client to lose the case, nothing to do with the client. They would have failed to provide all the necessary documents to the court when the court clerk would have called them on several occasions to supply it. They did not do that. So when they went to court with their client, based on the fact that they didn't do their part, the judge was forced to throw out that case. What do a client do in a case like that? Because it had nothing to do with them. Where do we get redress? How can it be treated? Because it's very, very unfair.
Well, you can direct your concerns to the Law Association.
Will they act, or is just a rubber stamp something and you just write and they receive it? Will there be any action?
If you look at the Newsday this week, all right, you will see where the Law Association, while they have their issues, and I have my own personal views on them, there are times when they have shown themselves to be very proactive, and they have acted in certain situations where lawyers have shown themselves to be deviant. Yes, you can address your issues to the Law Association.
And finally, will that client ever be able to get their situation heard again in court? Will they be given that opportunity, or that will just be the end of it?
Well, it's according to the nature. It's according to the nature of the matter, because I think once you get to the Law Association and all of that, the court would have already ruled, and the court would have already made a decision. If it is that the client has suffered loss, then there are provisions in the law where the client can sue the attorney.
It's a law case about probating land, and it's a lot of land, and they failed to prepare. The client had all documents. They didn't have to find anything. She got every single thing that you could think about the act, so she got everything on her own. And because of their inefficiency, but of course the judge, he quarreled with them in the court that day, because I was there with the lawyers and telling them because of them, they set up the clients, and it's unfortunate that he has to make a decision to throw out this case. But it's not her fault. So I'm saying, yes, I'm here. You say you apply to the Law Association, you can sue whatever. But what happens to her case? She has.
All right. So
all right, better leave it there.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it happens very often in probate cases, my lady, and where lawyers have, they've dragged their feet or whatever, and someone may have died, right? And work they should have done, they did not complete that work and stuff. And yes, you can find redress by writing to the Law Association and letting them know, that the lawyer was deviant or procrastinated, and because of their inaction, you have suffered loss and sue. Yeah.
Let's see if I hear this call. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello?
Hi, good afternoon. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead.
Hello?
Caller, you can go ahead and make your contribution.
I have a question for the lawyer. Well, a statement, actually. I heard, we like to say that America is the richest country in the world, right? If you have a house now worth $1.5 million, and it owe not $5 million, what exact position are you in? Because as much as America says they're the richest, they're 28 or 29 trillion dollars. So how they could be considered the richest in the world? That's a question.
I didn't hear the question too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
He's saying that if America is owing how much trillions of dollars, how can they still be the richest country in the world, basically?
Yeah, because they're in debt.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think that's a whole different question to what we are asking. We know that China is economically the second wealthiest nation, and they are soon to overtake America by 2030, given that the status quo maintains. But yes, America is into about $19 to $27 trillion in debt, and they have their ways of and means of they would have their ways and means of trying to settle that.
Yeah.
But we are talking about an emerging economy in China set to become the leading world power. And I don't think there's anything really America could do to stop that.
All right, we have to leave it there. Trinidad and Tobago, we're out of time, but not all the things to say. But when Dad comes back next week, I want you to deal with something with Dr. Rowley said about emancipation, and there are a lot of black leaders who have a problem with what he said. I will just send it for you, and you will look at it and you will just touch it.
Okay.
Yeah,
My Dr. Rowley?
Yeah,
my Prime Minister?
Your black Prime
My
Minister.
sweet Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley?
Black Prime Minister.
All right.
All right. So Trinidad and Tobago, we out of here. Talk to you next week, please, go on. All right? What a week. What a week. So, that's it for me. I'm out of here. I'm going to have a great weekend. I'm going to spend some time with my father. He can say what you want. We have to drink something on his birthday.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.